Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Youngstown Studio. I'm Joe Danyi. Kelin Flis.
Flis, not fleece, not flice, not finals, not filth.
Filth? You've gotten filth?
I have gotten filth before after I spelled the name for someone.
I think they just wanted to say that.
I think so
they
too. Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hump day.
It's hump day.
Remember the commercial? Hump day. What day is it? Hump day. No?
No. Cultural references sometimes I don't watch or
you
listen.
know that commercial.
Probably
the camel coming into the office and he's like, Mike. What day is it? What day is it? And then finally a coworker goes, it's hump day. Hump day. Because he's a camel.
All right.
Wow.
Not familiar.
That's
330-595-1600 if you want to call us today. And I'll give you first strike on what you'd like to talk about. Let's make it different. Let's, I don't want to be in that same groove all the time.
Well, there goes any ideas I had.
You don't have to, but try.
Make it different. So no politics.
I didn't say no.
Unpopular opinion.
No, you're misreading. Just make it different.
You're gonna have to start, Joe, because everything I think of now, I don't know if it's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first topic, Met Gala. Do you dig that kind of cultural stuff?
So I get into it a little bit just because of my other job where I'm on the radio and it's pop culture and it deals with celebrities. And so I'll use that as some content sometimes. Do I truly care? Not really, but I'll look at it. I've seen a little bit of it. Are you into the Met Gala?
Not a chance.
Not one iota.
All right. So whenever you do, okay. So in technology and in vehicles, I love when concept cars come out and, futuristic looking things that aren't today. Yeah. And it allows sort of like the innovators in a space to be able to like assemble what they think is coming. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I have an appreciation for things that might not have a place in the market, but you can see what's going around in the eyes of the engineers.
Behind it, kind of.
Yeah. And it's outlandish and, it's never going to make its way in its current form and whatever. And I appreciate that. When it comes to crap in fashion, like crap,
okay.
like it is the junkiest statement originating, not even closely connected with any kind of actual fashion that somebody would ever wear. It's just pay attention to me. I'm going to do the craziest freaking thing that I can do so that everybody either hates it like crazy and talks about me or loves it like crazy and talks about me. It has nothing to do with anything that I saw snapshot wise that I hope anybody ever wears.
Well, I mean, I agree to a point. Usually when I see like fashion shows, runway shows, I'm like, why would they create something that isn't actually ever going to go into stores? I don't understand the point. But the Met Gala specifically, I think, is meant to be costumes. It's not meant to be everyday fashion.
So let's roll it back. What is the point? So I receive an invitation to the Met Gala.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of the Met Gala. And somebody has to tell me what the Met Gala even is. It's a celebration of...
I think, and I could be wrong, I think the Met Gala is a celebration of art through costumes. So... like you would go to a museum and see paintings and sculptures. The Met and the Met Gala is celebrating costume tree. I might have made up that word. But wearable art, so to speak. It's not meant to be like fashion, although it's centered around fashion, but it's fashion in the form of art, in the form of costumes, in the form of like expressions through something you wear.
So that I could put on a thing. This is a Halloween costume party for obnoxious rich people.
I mean, you could. I like Dennis says celebration of pretentious weirdo.
Yeah, see? That was even better said. Thank you, Dennis, for that.
Yeah, because for sure there's a lot of like presentation with it. Sometimes you'll even have the celebrity where what they're wearing has like a handler. And it's the handler's job to sort of either fan it out or take off a certain piece. Like it's a presentation rather than just something they're wearing. You know, sometimes they can't even sit it in or anything. And yeah, it can seem really odd and dumb.
Seem?
Yeah. And what's interesting is I've heard some, but not as much. Like when Katy Perry and Gayle King and Lauren Sanchez all went to space, it was, oh my God, look at all the money we're spending on something when people can't afford eggs. Yet some of those same celebrities are now spending thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a costume to wear. Now it's a fundraiser, I believe, but still, like, you see the hypocrisy there? Just
No, none at all.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah, I'm going to file this under the really dumb things that people do. And it's meant for common people to look up on that pedestal and just take our heroes and worship a little bit more. And not a fan. It's definitely in the column of things that if it had total erasure from culture, I think we'd be better off, and I would like it personally.
do you like movies?
Yeah, I like movies.
When you watch movies, do you think it's important for the actors to be wearing attire that is relevant to the film or the time period?
It's a good question, because I think it depends on its genre. Like if you're doing something about Napoleon and Napoleon's wearing a spacesuit, that takes away and detracts from the storyline, right? But if you're doing some kind of futuristic whatever and the believability is costume oriented, now if you're just being stupid about it and it is too distracting, then it makes for a bad movie.
Because you know that every Met Gala has a theme. Did
Yes.
you know that? So there's like a theme. I think last year it was like forest something. This year I think it was called Tailor Made. It was supposed to be a nod to African American fashion or something like that. So I think much like in a movie you have costumes, that's kind of what this is. It's not a film, it's an event, it's an in-person event, but like you said, almost maybe like a costume party.
Well, I think you're giving it too much credit, because if it were themed that, I would say the theme is more like a frat party, a toga party would be more analogous, because it's not about the costumes. Like when you go to a toga party, right, you are not celebrating the costumery, if that was that word.
I mean,
You're there to get drunk and party.
I think too, it's become a who's considered an A-lister.
Exactly.
You know, not everybody gets invited to the Met Gala. Not everybody goes. So to me, I could see if I'm a celebrity, I'm an actress or a singer or a model or whatever, I would want to go and be at the Met Gala, because that shows people I am famous.
There you go.
You know,
So we brass tacks it. It's a really dumb high society thing to rub in the faces of people who should be appalled by that kind of, lavish spending on something so dumb.
I mean, appalled on something dumb.
So appalled.
Were you appalled about that space trip? The Blue Origin, whatever space, Katy Perry?
I'm saying from the perspective of the normal person, they should be appalled when they sacrifice time to worship at the people who are wearing silly costumes.
So you're saying it's not the celebrities, you're not appalled by them doing it, you're appalled by the people that like put them on a pedestal for doing it.
Yeah, the hero worship part of it is, let go people have let's take the cameras away, not make it a thing, and it's just a place that people go to and nobody pays attention to them. It'll be a different thing.
What about if you're someone who is super into art, fashion, film, costumes, creation?
Yeah.
You don't think someone could look at that and be like, oh, the Met Gala, this is our
But it's
Super
not
Bowl.
that. But it's not that. And
it's not to you, it's not to me. Is it for someone else? The Met Gala, their Super Bowl of what they are really interested in the field.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'm cool with it.
Well, you said it's stupid.
It is stupid.
Is the Super Bowl stupid?
Some could argue, yeah.
It's all stupid.
But at least you could, if I had a conversation about what the Super Bowl is, I could sum it up, and it would take more than one sentence, and I wouldn't have to say really dumb people. I would say really talented people did a whole bunch of hard things over consecutive weeks to be able to get there, and it is their celebration of all of that effort and merit to get there.
You don't think actors and actresses at the Met could say the same thing?
To get there, you had to have merit. So when you walk in the
Had
door,
to be high up in your field of work. You couldn't just be a starving actor. You had to have made it.
there's
so
no
to
report
speak.
card. There's no measurable success that got you to that Super Bowl. I assure you.
Or how about the fact that a Super Bowl is all about making money and the Met Gala is a fundraiser?
Not analogous. I
Just don't, you're like, still don't care.
No. I mean, if they did the Super Bowl at a high school stadium with no lights, it would still be the Super Bowl. It's not about people paying attention to them. It's playing the game that's on the field.
It's 100% about people paying attention.
No.
100%.
Okay.
That is why there is endorsement.
No.
Why there's commercials.
Could you play the game? If I took the people who are important on that sideline and took them to a field, would something happen?
Yeah.
Yes, a game would happen, and that is what the stuff that's built around it isn't the purpose. The Met Gala, the purpose is third or second to the presentation.
I mean, if you didn't have the presentation, you would still have a fundraiser. You would still have celebrities dressing up and gathering. The rest is presentation. So the Super Bowl, you would still have players playing a game.
They're very good at their sport.
The rest is
Here's what I could do. I could go out and take a bunch of randos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dress them up in silly costumes, and the Met Gala would still go on. There's nothing special about the people there except for the people who pay attention to them. You take randos and put them in the Super Bowl, and it wouldn't be spectacular to watch, and there would be nothing notable that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
You need not randos.
Merit. You need merit. The Met Gala.
And the people going to the Met Gala in their field have merit.
They don't. That's my argument, is that you could do randos, and a Met Gala, which you don't even have a description of, could still happen.
You can't really, though, because don't you sort of need the big high-profile people and
to what?
money
To play the game? What game is
this?
being played? Silly costumes? Anybody can do silly costumes. Does not take a rocket scientist, right, to pull off a Met Gala.
I'm just pushing back to push back.
I know.
But to say silly costumes, would that again not then sort of say, hey, they're not silly costumes to me being whoever is in that field. Like, I studied art. I studied fashion. I studied sewing. I studied things that make these creations that are important to people. It's not silly. They could say, oh, a bunch of guys go on a field and throw a ball around. That's dumb. Couldn't they say that? If
the opinion of it is dumb, I'm saying on the merit. Can anyone do that? If I gave you a bunch of fabric, right?
Yeah.
And I gave you the time to be able to do it, could you assemble something equally as silly as what we saw at the Met Gala and pull it off? And if I was like, no, this creation was done by some Italian designer and it cost $120,000, everybody like, oh, that's brilliant.
I could
the
not
wine
make
thing,
anything
absolutely.
like that at the Met Gala.
You dress someone up in whatever your creation is, and there would be somebody who would applaud you because it's stupid silly. Could
There's
you
no
not engineering.
Take anyone and teach them how to throw and catch a ball and run up and down a field?
And you could take high schoolers and put it on that field, and the game will be played at a lower level. So what is at the Met Gala? What is the lower level of fashion? It's indistinguishable from what went on that stage or what went in those halls. Indistinguishable. There's no merit there.
The merit comes in by the high-profile people attending, like the high-profile people.
It's not merit. It's not merit.
But it may not be merit, but it's the same thing.
It is not the same thing. Totally different thing. No, totally different thing. I just proved it 3 different ways. Anybody could do it for the Met Gala.
Anybody could do it for football. Not well.
Barely
do it.
Barely anyone can do it. Barely anyone could or be willing to go through 17 weeks of combating against other teams to arrive at the pinnacle event of football. That's merit. I could show you a piece of paper.
The pinnacle event of football.
Yes.
Or the pinnacle
So
event of a fashion costume event.
If you told me that fashion designers for 17 weeks combated against other fashion designers and only the best, went to the next level to get to the Met Gala, now you have an analogy between football and fashion. But to get there, they didn't have to accomplish anything except for, okay, so
I think fashion designers would disagree.
That's
I
fine.
am not one, so I don't know.
That's fine, but there's no competitiveness. There's no.
Haven't you ever seen Project Runway?
Sure.
That's all based around fashion competitiveness.
Did any of those people, grind up and to be able to get into the Met?
No, I've honestly never watched Project Runway. So
anyway, it's not comparable. It is a waste of an evening if you watched it. If you enjoyed it, great, but it wasn't anything.
If you enjoyed it, great. It wasn't a waste of an evening.
Right.
Just like if you enjoyed the Super Bowl, it's not wasting your time. It's something you enjoy.
But it in of itself can't be described as celebrating anything. It wasn't the best designers on the planet who got to that level and that was their Super Bowl. It wasn't that.
Dennis says, I bet there used to be Diddy parties after the Met Gala.
Yep.
Denise says, like the safety pin Versace dress that Liz Hurley wore. Oh, I didn't see that. Julie says, it's art, Joe. Does art have merit? They raised $31 million for the Met. That was my point.
What's the Met?
Isn't it a museum? The Met?
Okay.
It's a museum.
Okay.
An art museum. Is it
so
not?
They raised money for the Met.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's a fundraiser. It's a fundraiser highlighting the art form of fashion or costumes in order to raise money for the Met.
Okay.
Is that not what it is?
Julie's
on my side with this one, I think.
So yes, art is important for the people who appreciate it.
Yeah. Like football is important for the people who appreciate it.
That's exactly right.
So they're the same thing.
They are not.
Oh. Denise says, like Joe said about a fraternity-like event, I would like to know what those Met Gala attendees are doing once the cameras are turned off.
That'd be interesting to follow them around and see what debauchery happens after an art show.
Wait a minute. Debauchery?
Debauchery.
Do you honestly think football players and anyone associated with them are not going out to debauchery after a game?
Heck yeah.
So
that's known.
The same thing. The Met
that wasn't part of my argument.
Super Bowl
it's not. It is not
that world.
It's the Super Bowl if you took merit and competition out of it.
Yeah, Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yeah.
Say that again. The what is not the what now?
They would be equal if there was the Met is a Super Bowl without the competition and the merit. That's it. It's pretend, right? It's celebrating themselves for sure. It's spending money. It's having the debauchery. Just there's nobody got there because of something, right? That can be explained to you.
People in the Super Bowl got there by something you can't explain.
No, the football Super Bowl, I can explain to you how those people got there and why there's certain people that did not get there.
Do you know who Demi Moore is?
Yes.
Do you know who Nicole Kidman is?
Yes.
Do you know who Sabrina Carpenter is?
Yeah.
Do you know who the Kardashians are? How do you know all that? Media, things they were doing, a level of success they have achieved in their craft.
Sure.
Do you know who Travis Kelce is?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
He's a football player.
Media through a level.
No, I watched the game. I knew Travis Kelce before the media propped up.
You watched him play.
A skilled person, a person that has a talent.
Did you know Demi Moore from any movie or Nicole Kidman from any movie?
For sure.
So how is that different? From I know this football player because I watch him play on TV, or I know this actress because I watch the movies they're in.
All right. So, but would I invite a famous football player who sucks into the Super Bowl? I would not. They might be famous and they might be skilled, right? But that's the famousness did not get them invited.
Look at Tom Brady. I hear on a regular basis that people either think he's awesome or a lot of people think he sucks. So,
but he wasn't on the field. He was not on the field because he was famous. He was on the field because he was a great quarterback.
So the people that say Tom Brady sucks and he's a cheater, Why would they think he's on the field?
Well, because you're allowed to hate players. So there's a lot of players
Like,
that are
you're
absolutely
allowed to hate celebrities and think they're terrible, but other people think they are good enough to put them where they are.
Well, that's fine. I don't have nothing against. There's some achievement that happened there, but the Met is not the Super Bowl of achievement. It's a celebration and hero worship of famous people. That's it.
Yeah, I can give you that.
Okay.
When I say it's the Super Bowl, I don't mean it's like what they are trying to achieve. Like maybe a better comparison for a Super Bowl would be like the Academy Awards or something like that. But it is still an event that highlights the celebrities, the players, the people involved in that field for a cause.
Okay.
In fact, it might even be above the Super Bowl because it's for a cause.
Okay.
The Super Bowl
So
is let's make money and make people famous.
Here's what we'll do. We'll substitute out those people who you probably are worshiping too. So we got to remove your bias, and we're gonna have the viral video, whatever, Hawk Tua and Cash Me Outside and whatever. Everybody who's got 500 million views on it, and we're gonna celebrate what their achievement was, and you're gonna say that they achieved something, right? Which was the result of everybody knowing who they are. And I'm going to argue too with them that just because they gained popularity, they're really dumb, right? I only know them because of the viral video, and they shouldn't be there. They didn't achieve any real thing.
Yeah. And I think in both cases, you have that. Are there people at the Met Gala that like Kim Kardashian, I'm sorry, became a celebrity by being a celebrity, by being around celebrities. Right. That's how she became one. But there also are people that have talent. To me, Nicole Kidman, very
That's
talented.
Accidental. They're not there because of their talent. On the Super Bowl football side, all talent. It is talent. Met Gala, popularity, period. Is there some accidental talented people?
I think
sure.
You have a Super Bowl because of the popularity.
No,
you can have
that is not.
You have a football game every stinking Sunday.
Yes.
Full of talent.
Yes.
Why do you have a Super Bowl event?
Because they all eliminated each other until there were just two.
So then just go play on a field and have another
game.
Could,
and it would still be a freaking game.
Yes. But the Super Bowl is the theatrics, the marketing, the money.
And that's fine. But they still have to have something on the field. There's nothing on the field at the Met Gala. There isn't an achievement.
The achievement is the art form. It is celebrating what those people who enjoy that kind
and
of
I'm saying there was no competition that said those are the best of the best.
I know.
What is it? And all you would have to do is explain how they got there. And I would say, oh, well, for sure.
Well, that was
fierce competition.
What if we Google it and say, how does a designer become featured at the Met? Maybe
criteria.
there's
I'll Google it.
I don't know.
I'll Google it, and it's going to say you buy your way into it, and it's a popularity contest.
Because it's a fundraiser. Maybe they have to pay. I wonder if maybe the designers that pay the most money
at the Met.
You can hire as a designer at the Met, particularly in exhibition design, which is what it is. Requires a combination of experience, technical skills, and a strong understanding of the museum's needs. While the Met Gala is an invitation-only event, becoming a designer at the museum involves a different path. And then there's a whole breakdown. So you have to be involved with the Met? Is that it?
Mm-hmm. The Met as opposed to job opportunities, relationships, internships.
Ooh, you might like that article. There's no guaranteed way to get invited to the Met Gala. It is a fundraiser earning money for the museum's extensive fashion collection. Also become a cultural touch point, largely due to the influence of Anna Wintour. Yeah, she's kind of over it all.
All right, so to make it a 1-for-1 with football, if I looked up football, how does one get to the Super Bowl? It would say 32 teams around the league all go all season long and compete. The ones with the best records get seeded. Those seeded ones go to a playoffs. The playoffs then go to the Super Bowl, right? Totally outlined with how this works. So the Met, the fashion part of this would be like, 10,000 fashion designers enter projects, and they are eliminated by the most grueling critics of fashion design. Only one can survive. That would be how it would be outlined.
We're comparing apples and oranges. I think we are. I think the Met Gala sounds more like it is business oriented. You're there because you're part of it. You're involved in the Met, so you then show your things at the Met. Yeah, it's a fundraiser for an organization, so everybody involved in the organization does it. You know, if there's an Easter sales fundraiser, everybody who helps with Easter sales comes to the fundraiser.
There you go. What? You look a little deflated.
No, I'm just saying the Super Bowl is a bad example.
That's okay. But it ferreted out the details of why my hatred for stuff like this.
It's stupid. It's just
my opinion.
Different.
My opinion. It's stupid. You know what would be cool if you used all of that star power to tackle something that was meaningful. And
well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
How do you know? I feel like there's a lot of other meaningful things that their celebrity and their money go towards throughout the year. Why can't they just have a night to get dressed up and celebrate the art form of dressing up? Like, I love Halloween. I love dressing up for Halloween. Is it dumb to just do something I enjoy doing because it's not more meaningful?
No, that's just being a regular human being. It would be dumb if I followed you around and made a big deal that you dressed up like a pumpkin for a Halloween party.
Okay,
that'd be freaking dumb.
Your point is not them and what they're doing. It's anybody who worships what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Julie says, "Is art to you only the Mona Lisa, not Picasso?" Dennis says, "If that's the achievement, they failed." I don't remember what he means.
Okay, well, I'll just extrapolate and I'll roll that back into if it was a competition, if it was supposed to be the best of the best, then what they presented wasn't exactly the best.
So can you look at a painting and appreciate Picasso's work, Da Vinci's work, Michelangelo's?
So
work,
I am a big fan of our museum down here. I think has great collections. But I think art has been really bastardized, and it's really taken the expressive genius out of art. Like if you tape a banana on the wall. I saw this meme the other day. Some dude was admiring the art, and he left his his glasses down on the ground, and they had photographers thinking that was the expression, and they made a big deal about the glasses. And I'm thinking, exactly. Like this was the laziest, non-genius expression of artwork that I've ever seen. It should be hard to do art. It should take time and contemplation. Like if Hunter Biden can sell artwork for $100,000, right? Then artwork is freaking dead, because that artwork didn't sell because an objective appreciation for some kind of achievement. It was who he was, right? And there was a buyer that was willing to pay him for the garbage that he put out.
So it should take time and consideration. You know the song "I Will Always Love You"?
Yeah.
Isn't it a fact that Dolly Parton wrote that in a matter of minutes?
Sure.
Did that take a lot of time?
No, I'm going to say the lyrics were awful, but the presentation, her craft, and being good at it took a long time to achieve.
Lyrics were awful?
Yeah. They were simple. They, so you ever see the artwork that they spin and then they take the paint cans off and it, and you watch it and you're like, this one sold for whatever.
Yeah.
You had literally probably 45 seconds of design time. You have the rig that you had to hit up and a spinny thing, maybe a couple hours. And then so when you divide it and say, why did a friend of mine spend a month painting a realistic version of a horse on a prairie with a landscape that took a month, and she sold it for $600? And this stupid painting that just was spinny paint splatters sold for $100,000. I would much rather give the talented person the money than the person that's making a spectacle of themselves.
So if it's abstract and it doesn't look like a real thing, it's not good?
Well, if there's storyline and there's mental energy put into it, and there's a whole theme about it. Yeah. But if I'm like, take a thing at the wall, throw a balloon full of red paint on it and say, look at my expression. What's its meaning? well, that is ketchup on a wall, and it means all of the rage that I have inside.
I called
mailed it in.
Toddler.
Yes, that was, and that's what I'm saying. Like the bastardization and taking the intelligence out of art is where they lose it for me. But if you walk down and look at the Impressionist wing, or the period pieces, or when it's an actual museum and celebration of talent, I'm all for it. When it's lazy shit, it's not.
So what
not
about
for me.
the art gala costumes that take months to plan out and create and
if they did a
sew
documentary on the origination of those costumes and what thought went into them, that would be worth watching, because that would be celebrating merit.
Oh, so I mean, okay, so if you took the exact same pieces that you see on the floor of the Met Gala, and instead of watching the celebrities just parade around in them, they say, now here's what went into this. Here's the insight. Here's the drawing.
Exactly, because that would be the merit.
Materials.
It would be then you could say the Met Gala is a celebration of the fashion, right?
Yeah.
Because when the cameras went on, what's the first thing that came out of your mouth is talking about who made it, where it came from, what thought went into it, how hard it was, the story behind it, and then people would be inspired by the fashion, not the person wearing the fashion.
I think the reason it's about the person wearing the fashion too is because I think that's a big portion of where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
They could find any unknown model and showcase the fashion and talk about it, but it's a big fundraiser looking to make big money. So having a no-namer in it versus having Kim Kardashian is where the money comes.
Yeah, if you said celebrating rich people so we could raise money for the museum, then I would say, boom, an honest assessment of what you're doing there.
I had another point.
How the hell did we start talking about stupid fashion when I
believe you brought it up.
I did, but this should have been 5 minutes. If you hadn't argued with me, it would have been a 5-minute thing. We'd be talking. Now let's get back to all the traditional talk that we repeat too much just to get away from the freaking topic.
Segue. We all know that Hunter stuff was money laundering. That's not a fair comparison to true art.
That's right. It's the bastardization. Almost like if you were a car nut, right, and you wrenched on your Impala in the garage at night, and you celebrated the engine and the carburetor and the smells and the sounds. Somebody really loves cars. And you went to a car show and everybody there was just all like Lamborghinis, and the people that operated it knew it, didn't know anything about cars whatsoever. Like, this is just a bunch of faker rich people who are using cars to leverage an event. This isn't for me. I want the wrenchers there.
Let's say you go and you see an art piece that looks like splattered painting on canvas. And you're like, that's lame, that's dumb. Then the artist comes out and says, interesting. Well, let me tell you, do you see this shade of yellow? Yes, that's actually not yellow. That's actually a creation of this much brown and this much whatever. And I created a shade that has actually never been used before in an art piece because I found the exact measurement of those two colors combined. The reason it's in a splatter here is because that's actually a geometrical design that explains the universe's blah, blah, blah. And they went on this whole long thing. Then say, I appreciate that. That's art.
Interest piqued. I would be interested and I would give them their credit.
So how do you know that's not the case when
I don't know.
A piece and you say, that's stupid, it's just splattered on there?
You can tell. Okay. You can tell. You can tell.
The average person can tell.
Yeah. Artwork is a factory. Like the Taekwondo example we had where, Taekwondo is an achievement thing where you go up through your ranks, and then the places that do Taekwondo are like, hey, these guys are willing to pay $120 for a freaking belt. So your little kid that has no use of their arms and they're not nimble and they don't know any of the maneuvers, they walk them up to the thing and say, all right, just touch it, buddy. And they give them a belt, right? That's the bastardization where the belt has been devalued because there's not merit built into it.
Have you ever seen the movie The Devil Wears Prada?
I started that one, yeah.
Did you see the scene? I think it's in the beginning. Anne Hathaway's character gets hired, and she's working for Meredith. I can't.
The bitch lady.
Yeah. And she's like, "What's the big deal? It's just a blue sweater." And she's like, "Interesting. You think this is just a blue sweater?" Because what it actually is, and she goes into this whole long thing about the color and how it was marketed, and you think this is stupid, yet here you are wearing it. And it's this whole explanation. You're like, oh, a lot more went into.
Yeah, and experts and people who are in the craft and good at it, appreciation.
My point is to stand back and say something is stupid when you have not immersed yourself into the reason behind it and the craft itself. How can you really say that?
You can't. And if I went scientifically, and if you were sure that everything represented there was the genius of the industry and said, go ahead and test it. If I walk through and found that it is a celebration of people who are at the top of their game and they deserve all the credit that this is bringing to them, or B, that these are just rich people who mailed it in to be part of this thing. How certain would you be that I would find A and not B?
At the Met Gala?
Yeah.
I would say it's probably rich people celebrating.
Okay,
stuff,
all right.
But I've never been there, and I don't.
And that's why I'm saying I don't know that for a fact, and I would, if I cared enough, I'd be willing to test it. But I'm fairly certain that this wasn't the celebration, because the template is unmistakable, right? Because it's a provable, objective thing. If you have the metrics, it means I wanted to prove that I was good. So if you're a good student, then you show me your GPA. You show me the tests that you've taken. You show me the courses that you've taken. I can take the whole ride through. Artistic expression, somebody can sit down and say, do I really have to do the work, or can I really pose and pretend to have done the work? And could somebody ever just be able to make a distinction between the two? We use the wine example. So if I had $1,000 glass of wine and a $50 glass of wine. Have you ever seen these done?
Yeah, I've heard that it's just marketing.
And they switched the freaking labels on it. Would the people who are drinking the wine be able to tell which they're taking? So if I made the suggestion, this is $1,000, it could be Boone's Farms, and you drink it, and you say, the earthy tones, I taste them for real, right?
Yeah.
The artistic expression can be faked. And if it can be faked and it's not objective, you can't give me metrics on it. And now it's not good. It's just an opinion of being good.
But how do you know in your example that if you want to see if someone's intelligent, you test them and you look at their scores?
Yes.
Are there not intelligent people that are just bad test takers?
Sure.
So they get a low score. They're not intelligent.
You could have an objective measure, not a testing measure.
Yeah.
You could just take an industry and say, okay, you're a vocalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a subjective thing depending on who you're in front of. So let's make a test to see if you're a good vocalist. I could say things like, well, maybe you're not good on stage performances, but in a studio you are. So you eliminate the things that remove the variables out of it. Yeah. And we're like, okay, I have a measure that can take your octaves, and I say, hit a C, and I take the C, and I grade you based on if you hit a C correctly. That's an objective measure on if you're talented. If you can get 10 people to say that something was good, that's not an objective measure of merit.
Yeah, I mean, there's been actors that I've seen in movies that got all kind of attention, and oh, look at this great actor, and I was like, I didn't think they were very good.
Right. So in art, there can be an objective measure of merit. And do we celebrate the ones that put time in on it and have actual talent and, have storylines and concoct your yellow that's never been created? I'm sure of it. And do we have a lot of things that are not that? Hunter Biden and the, money laundering scheme that he had going.
Yeah. And I think this sort of speaks to a big point that we talk about and even experience a lot, is this idea of judging something having never actually been in that place. I feel like people will take snippets of what we say and think they know all kinds of stuff about us. And they're wrong. They saw a snippet. They saw one thing. They've never been in our shoes. They don't know what we've experienced. They didn't even see the whole thing that we were presenting. I think we do that a lot with a lot of things. Whereas we'll see celebrity coverage of a Met Gala event or a Super Bowl event or whatever, and all of a sudden we know all we need to know about it to form an opinion, when really we don't. And we always do this. We have so many opinions, we meaning human beings in general, about things that we truly know very little about. Which is why it's so funny to me when you see relationships break up over politics, family members, friends that go their separate ways because of who one of them voted for. And to someone's point, they could maybe say, oh, well, I'm not just disagreeing with you because you voted for this person. That, to me, you voting for this person tells me what I need to know about how you feel. Really? Because I see them differently. I maybe got different information than you did. Maybe you're misinformed. Maybe I'm misinformed. Maybe we're looking at something totally different. But here's the thing. Neither of us are in the White House or know that person personally or know the people they're dealing with or sitting in on the meetings, getting the information that person has to make those decisions. But you know me and I know you, and we knew each other well enough to like each other before a stranger got involved. That's ridiculous to me.
Julie says, I think Joe would only appreciate AI produced art. That's an important question, because I'm going to take only out there, but I would say that I have an appreciation for AI art. And here's why. Because it will be better than human beings are capable of producing. And the real test of it, if you said, Kelin, go out and, give me this, whatever, house on a prairie or whatever,
landscape,
and do the same thing with AI. Okay. Yeah. Give the same task to both an AI and a human being and look at their end results. And number one, AI is going to do it in about 10 seconds. And the artist is going to take a really long time to accomplish. And then you can take your subjective deal and say, which one is better from an end result, end product? Which can be more believable, more accurate, and taken less time? The efficiency medal goes to the AI every single time. And go ahead.
Yes. Efficiency, yes. Maybe how realistic it looks.
Yes.
Probably AI every time. I think the human is going to be more impressive. I think for a human to, have you ever seen a painting that looked so lifelike you thought it was an actual picture?
Mm-hmm.
For an AI to create that, not a big deal. You'd almost expect it. They have the tools at hand, so to speak. But for a human to do something so intricate and to make it look so realistic and to have extremely tiny strokes and details, I would be more impressed if the human could even make it look remotely close to an AI image.
Okay, but if an AI image creator can do it with no effort, no cost, why would you expense the energy on something that can already be done easier? What would you be appreciating?
You appreciate the art, the craft, the talent behind it. Like you said, when we're talking about art form, listen, you showed me the talent that went into this, the precision that went into this, the fact that you've got to be perfectly steady. You've got to have it just right. You have to make the colors yourself. You didn't pull them from a computerized source. You took actual.
Okay, well, here,
yourself.
I'll give you two angles on this. Okay, so there's a guy that says, I'm going to build you a house and I'm going to do it with medieval tools, right?
Yeah.
So number one, the tools exist to do it better, more proper, more realistic, more efficient, more cost effective, right? Already exists. So you using medieval tools sounds like you're challenging some things. I would be impressed if you could build a house with medieval tools. Yeah. Now you're the buyer of the house. Would you rather the house crafted with the more strategic, more efficient, more exacting tools, or would you want the guy that put it together with medieval tools?
Yeah,
as the buyer.
The more exact tools.
Okay, so that's really the two angles on this. You have appreciation that someone can do something that takes longer and is harder to do and costs more money.
Yeah,
because that's impressive from wow. But then you're like, if the tools already exist, why would you make a worse product that took longer and was harder and has less market value? Yeah. What are you appreciating?
Well, again, apples to oranges. It depends on what it is. If it's a house I'm living in and I need it strong and done well and quickly and efficiently, yeah, new age tools all day long. But an art piece is not that same kind of necessity. An art piece is meant mostly for appreciation.
Okay.
You're going to
see, we agree on this. We agree on this. And we basically just reversed it around and said, what's important with art is the merit of the person, right? That is the overall goal. Yeah. If there's no merit, if you're a poser, if you're a faker, if you're doing hero worship, it's all BS and it's stupid. Yeah. If it's celebrating people who are really good at something and you make them being good at something the purpose and focus of what you're doing, like the medieval house, when they're building the house, right? The whole biography or the demonstration of it would be all about the contrast between how much easier it would be if you actually used a hammer rather than a stone that was, lashed up to a stick, right? That would be the freaking focus.
Like when I watch the Met Gala, and again, I don't care enough to actually just go and watch it. I look it up later online so that I have content later. But and maybe this is because I'm a female, I don't know. I hate to put gender on this, but I can appreciate it not because of the celebrities. I don't care who's wearing what. In fact, quite often I'll see an outfit and I don't know who the celebrity is because I'm old now. But I can appreciate if it's, for example, Demi Moore looked like an actual men's tie and had this big arch thing going up over her head. I've worn Halloween costumes that I need to be big. And I'm like, how in God's name did they get it to stay up like that? What is that? How did they do that? I've worn dresses that were skin tight and you can't even sit down. So when I see celebrities like Wada Lynn, like, how are you going to go to a dinner? There's no way. Like, these are things that the makeup, I love makeup. I just do. And so to see the artistry in makeup and the things that they can put on their faces, I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. If you're not into any of those things, you're like, meh, don't care.
Yeah.
But there's a place for people that are like, I don't care about worshiping these celebrities. The art of it is pretty neat.
If you get something out of it, go enjoy it, right? And the people who don't like it will mock it, just like my wine thing. Everybody would mock the dude who paid $1,000 for a glass of wine and ended up being Boone's Farms, right? Nobody would be like, oh, but you have to celebrate the grapes and their tragedy.
And I have heard, I've seen a wine connoisseur, whatever the title was, on TV one time that said, no source of wine costs more than $20 to make. Not a single bottle.
Yep.
But you're paying more for marketing.
Yep.
For the name.
Yeah. And so you can mock that.
Yeah.
The dude enjoyed the wine. He felt good about drinking the wine.
Yeah.
He was celebrating that it was $1,000 wine. And so until you tell him that he should not be happy about tasting the wine, he would be fine. And that's cool. I'm going to mock it, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to go enjoy it, and we're going to be okay with that.
Yeah. Julie says, Kelin, have you ever checked Joe for a panel that is full of circuits and motherboards? I have thought about it.
Robotic.
On your back, do you have like paneling and?
I'm very computer-like. Very computer-like.
Yes.
Did that on purpose, though.
In the most fascinating way, though. So let's get into this whole AI thing.
Yeah.
Let's cause some controversy because I know, Julie, you and I have been on the same team this morning. I feel like this might divide us a little bit, but we're still going to be friends. Yesterday, I think you guys talked a little bit about the AI image of Trump as the Pope.
Yeah.
And there's been some controversy that can be perceived as offensive to Catholics. And I get that. I do. I'm not Catholic, but I could totally see how somebody would not appreciate that. Here's where I say the hypocrisy just kills me. I'm seeing now atheists bash Trump for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally am seeing videos and posts like, I can't believe Trump is making me defend Catholicism. Never in my life would I have ever defended Catholicism. I can't believe I have to say this. It irks me, but I'm gonna. That's when I want to be like, time out, say no more. You have Trump derangement syndrome. If you hated something so much before, and now Trump does it, and now you want to defend it, that to me is Trump derangement syndrome. You're only doing this because you hate him more. And have you seen other of the exact same images? I just saw someone who happens to be a fairly outspoken liberal share the exact same Pope AI image, but it was a football coach. That's not offensive. It's not offensive to put the exact same Pope costume and take the exact same image and put it on someone else, but it is offensive to put it on Trump. The hypocrisy is killing me. What do you say about it?
I have nothing to add to that. That was beautifully said.
Thank you.
But the thing is,
and Julie's probably like
the TDS thing is going to be maneuvered and used so brilliantly. And I don't want to give away any, Trump secrets, but when you know what your enemy will do at any given chance, like if you're in your mom mode, right?
Mhm.
And your kid does not like broccoli, but you wanted to manipulate. If you said, eat your broccoli, right? They would stamp their feet and whatever. But you can manipulate and almost use reverse psychology. So, like, let's just say Trump wanted to support Catholicism and make a bunch of Catholics, right?
Mhm.
Let's say, let's see how we can get a bunch of atheist, agnostic, liberal, secularists to join Catholicism. What can we do? I'm going to say I hate it, and then they're going to say I love it today, right? So you want
Yeah.
to see him maneuver them. This is going to be brilliant.
And disclaimer, we have to say this. The example Joe just used is not Joe saying all liberals are atheists. He's talking about a specific group who might happen to be liberal and atheist. The fact that
But would you toy with that? If you knew your enemy, no matter what you said, would take the opposite position? Would you not every once in a while throw one out there you wanted them to be on the other side just to see if they'll do it?
That's a good point. That's a good point. He got people that, again, would not typically be looking into any kind of religion are now talking about it. That's true. Dennis says the Trump Pope video from his meme team was good. I did not see that. Did you?
The pump
video, Trump Pope video from his meme team was good.
No.
I don't know what that is.
Well, I'm going to say, like, the people who are running the president and the White House's accounts, the stuff that they've been licensed to be able to put out there I feel is really beneath the office. So, we talk about Idiocracy and Alejandro, whatever, coming out with a machine gun and just being as ridiculous as possible. Like, these are the pavers that get us to that point, because you would think that they're insulated and say, okay, we have to present a certain brand as the as the president of the United States in the White House. So if it came across your desk and said FAFO, right, has some bad words in that acronym. F around and find out.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, should that language make its way onto professional documents and public-facing stuff?
Probably not.
Okay. How about LFG? Let's effing go, right?
Yeah.
Should that kind of language make its way to official presidential
Probably
whatever?
not.
Okay. I agree with this, and it did, and it is doing. So you have expectations that certain websites and groups can take some liberties with being offensive and whatever.
Yeah.
But now our entire executive branch is trolling meme ships and foul language, right? If that doesn't encapsulate where we're headed in the civilizational decline, civilizational, is that a word? Yeah. Civilization's decline.
Yeah.
That's a big example.
I think what it feels like to me when I see things like that is on actual White House content, I feel like they are very much trying to appeal to a younger generation. We hear a lot about how some conservatives think that college is a waste of money, college is a scam, college pushes their ideology onto young people, and now we have all these young people that have this certain narrative that is very hard to break. I'm wondering if this almost immature like speech is to reach that demographic of voters. Those are the ones that would use "Let's Go" and FOMO and the other acronym. And to me, I feel like that's what they're doing. I feel like Trump has put in a lot of younger people around him, like the press secretary. And I think, number one, I think we have an administration right now led by probably a couple of bad winners. Like, there are sore losers and there are bad winners. And I think they're being a little bit of a bad winner. I can't blame them. I get it.
But once that seal is broken, like it is broken forever. And if you look back maybe 100 years and what decorum was like, how you talk, what you were willing to do, and standards just keep getting lowered to a certain level. Like, you wouldn't get on an airplane with anything less than your best suit. right? And then broke the seal, get on an airplane wearing jeans, and then broke the seal, get on in sweatpants, and then break the seal. Like it's this spiral down, right? So how far does the spiral go down is my question.
I mean, I remember in one of the debates when Trump and Biden literally got into a several-minute long argument over who plays golf better. And I went, gentlemen, have we ever gotten over here? Like, oh my God. Like, where's the grown-up in the room? So yeah, it's not just one side. I think both sides do this. But yeah, part of it, I think, is just this relaxed atmosphere now that it's like throw everything to the wind as far as decorum goes. And I think part of it too is.
But isn't that important? Traditionalism and conservative values, will the demand for that go up as it's reduced so it's not even recognizable? So when it starts affecting you, and now you're forced to have people who don't care about language, they don't care about manners, they don't care about punching you in the face if they want to take your stuff. There's no standards. It's just accepted because the younger generation decided they don't like the authoritarian rules of the generation before them. And rather than shake hands, let's fist bump, right? And instead of telling you that I'm canceling plans, just cancel on you and don't show up. Like, just reduce standards until you're like, wait, isn't anybody want to follow any kind of rules where we treat other people a certain way and behave a certain way?
Is there ever anyone that's going to be the bigger person and sort of bring that back? I mean, if it gets them nowhere, is that an uphill battle, I wonder, for them? To be like, I am going to have decorum. I am going to be the bigger person. I am going to hold my head high and do what is right, regardless of anything else. You know, we have this idea that to be in politics in general is sort of this dirty game you have to play or you fizzle out. Could that be the same thing? Is there like,
well, you don't, when it applies to you, and that this is definitely a Gen Z, Gen Alpha thing. When the rules apply to you, you don't like them, but you absolutely think the other guy should be playing by those rules. So for instance, like if you think Jeff Bezos should pay more taxes, you absolutely don't think you should pay more taxes because you've got justifications for something that's not principle based. So if there's a principle that you wanted to treat other people like they want to be treated and you want fairness and equality, not equity, then you would across the board fight no matter if you were a beneficiary of those things or not, because it's principle. But the narcissism, we're going to use that narcissism gaslighters out there, right? They're looking at the power of something that benefits them but hurts other people, and that principle does not wash.
Julie says atheists can respect religions. Trump is the president of the United States. He should respect other religions. The hypocrisy is that Republicans would have skewed Biden for that. And Kelin,
for sure,
can you not just say Trump F you'd? What does that mean?
He effed up. Can't you just say that he effed up, admit to it?
But I mean, like, and what, Julie, just tell me what reference you mean. Is it the Trump meme or can you not just say he effed up? Just let me know in what capacity you mean, because that could be multiple. Brittany, who is this man? Straight facts. That might be you.
Did I get a compliment finally?
Brittany's like,
Brittany, thank you.
Facts. I think that's who she's talking about.
All right. Well, that's cool. I'm down with that. Thank you. But and that's what I'm saying. Like, especially Democrats, they have this standard that literally nobody is following, but they're pointing to it like it's a virtue that doesn't freaking exist. So if they're all idiots and they all say, LFG, right? Which is, we're like, no, people in the professional capacity should never LFG in a professional moment. And then we have people on the steps saying people should be burned and Tesla should be like, what standard are you pointing to? You don't accept that. But for that guy, total standard. My side, not so much. We don't have to follow that. Standard.
Oh, well, they did it. That was wrong. But when we did it, we had a justification for it.
That was my point.
Dennis, I'll give you that one, Joe. Julie says the Trump Pope meme. Okay, so can't just say he effed up with that meme.
Well, here's how you know he didn't. Okay. When he was asked about it, he said it was a joke and you should think it's funny. And so he didn't backtrack and say, oh yeah, the guy's been fired. It had nothing to do with it. He would do it again today if it meant that he ruffled enough feathers to be effective. So it's on purpose.
I don't have any strong ties to Catholicism. I was not personally offended by the meme. So I would not say he effed up. I'm like, oh, that is probably going to tick some people off, but anything he does is going to tick some people off.
Right.
And then I saw that it wasn't only Trump who shared this meme. Lots of people were poping themselves with this AI image, and that was okay. It was only not okay when Trump did it. So no, now I'm really not saying he effed up. A lot of other people are doing it, and they're getting a free pass. Plus, again, to even people that typically don't care about other religions, that now are only claiming to care because Trump.
See, I like that. I really like that when the conflict of just battling against religion, and then you have to bring yourself to be on the defense of that religion. That just it warms my heart.
I mean, I'm sorry. There are examples in all kinds of scripture and religions where I see Jesus and God himself had a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any religious figurehead would say, oh, someone stuck a Pope thing on an AI image and be so outraged. No, I think if you're outraged, it's because of your preference in politics. I really do. I think to just be outraged somebody did it, to say you're outraged that's even a meme, I'm not hearing that. I think that's bull. I think you're outraged who did it.
Yeah. All right, I'm switching topics on you because this is an important day, and I don't know if you know what's coming down today, but I have lots of hope. Okay, now we have to use coded language because the AI will penalize us a great deal for what we're about to say. So I have to use language that will let you know what I'm talking about without actually saying it. I have BJ on my shoulder telling me what I should and shouldn't say here.
Okay.
So today is the 7th. Do you know who James O'Keefe is?
James O'Keefe. I don't think I do.
Okay. Investigative reporter, put on the conservative side of things. He embeds people so the way that this works is they have a centralized organization, but then they have field reporters that don't have direct connection with the organization. And so they embed people in organizations and, goes on dates with people. And he's brought a lot of sort of bombshell type of things that politicians and executives have said in the confidence of the person that they're having dinner with or on a date with. And
like he plants moles, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they take the videos and release them on social media. They've done for instance, they sat down with some executives at Pfizer, and they talked about that thing that happened in 2001 and what their response and how it gave you insight in how they talk about those things when the public isn't watching. It lets you get into the minds of the people that are behind this.
Room conversation.
Yes. And so he's done a lot of very, conflict oriented investigations that, let the public know, have some transparency on things they otherwise wouldn't. Well, on Friday, he released this video where looked like he was in the basement of a building, poor lighting. And he was sitting in a chair and he says, I'm going dark. That the most dangerous video that I've ever released is coming out. I'm scared for me, so pray for me. And so, there's going to be something today that gets released. So if you're paying attention to X, find out what this is. And I don't know that it's going to be clickbait. I don't know if it's going to be over dramatics just to draw in viewers and attention. But it's been, and honestly, he gave the video that he's going to release to other people so that if he disappears and he goes away, it will still be released no matter what. But he's afraid for his safety based on what he's about to release. How's that make you feel, first off?
Unfortunately, I'm not surprised. You should be scared.
Okay. Because I think I know what it has to do with. And
you think it has to do with the files?
Yes. Specifically, somebody within the Trump administration who's been working against a mole, right? In who the current attorney general is right now, Miss Bondi. I think that's what this report is about. And we all know they were charged with on day one releasing said files, and they came out like a week later and came out with a binder of stuff that everybody already knew. And then she went on Fox News a bunch of times and said that, you know, there was other stuff that was hidden in a vault, and there's a truckload of this stuff that's getting delivered to my office. James Comer talked about this, and he said, don't get your hopes up, because if there were anything incriminating and there was nobody watching the people who was charged with this evidence, it's all been destroyed and all been shredded. I don't expect anything to come out. Everything is gone, right? So I am waiting for what is to be said about the mole that could be in Miss Bondi as it relates to these files.
How is he going to release it?
What do you mean?
Like you said, watch X. If it's anything about Pam Bondi or anyone related to Trump, do you think Elon would shut down X?
Not at all, because they have I can't say the word K, but a K switch that if something happens, it has multiple avenues to be released. Nobody's shutting this sucker down.
Okay.
So when you're hearing this, this is pre-release, so you really don't know what's in it. But I am.
My biggest fear is, can we trust the sources it's being released to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we will get this video. I am 100%
Today?
assured. Yes, it'll be today.
Julie says, "Oh, can't wait."
Yes. So that is something that needs to happen, and it needs to have happened already. What's holding it up? You're either going to be optimistic to say that the prosecutions need to happen and they need to stick and people need to go to prison, so it's taking long to assemble cases, which I'm hopeful for that version. Or you have a window that somebody could walk out now and say, hey, we got there and it's all gone. Couldn't do anything about it, and sorry about it.
I really hope this isn't another womp womp moment. Like, I hope it's clear, because like when everybody's like, when Pam Bondi is, oh, we're releasing these files, and then we got nothing. I hope this guy wouldn't do that. You think he would just build up stuff and then be like, I just wanted attention?
The way that his journalism works is that he sits down with people and they talk to him saying stuff they shouldn't say. So he's not going to release the names, but you're going to get the storyline of what's happening within the administration by these people who talk to an undercover investigator, and then they will say what's really happening. So I don't think he's going to release any kind of files, but
don't the people then that were involved getting this content have to be careful?
Absolutely.
Like, if I'm a mole, if O'Keefe sends me to talk to you and you're some figurehead and I get information, and now that information was released,
you're in danger too.
Be in like some sort of witness protection.
Yes.
Yeah.
But their moles are all disconnected from the organization. So nobody knows who these moles are. They submit their profile as a person who wants to do this. They get mailed equipment to them, and then they're just lost in the field for months on end until they capture something. And then they connect back with the organization, turn over their findings, and then the O'Keefe Media Group puts together the videos and then presents them to the public. So a lot of spying eyes are everywhere within lots of different departments and companies.
But to get close enough to somebody to get detailed information that is clear, they're going to know who they talk to, and that it's got to be intimate enough that it can't just be a big public event. It's got to be somewhere that'll be like, I talked to you.
Most of them are lunch dates and romantic dates where they pair up. They find out that there was somebody who needed some romantic attachment, and they use that. And when when you don't think you're being recorded and you're just on this date with the other person, you start spilling the stuff because
you've got to develop a rapport with them. This isn't just like
months.
Yeah.
Months. So that's what we're in store for today.
Holy.
So the dominoes and the response to it, where you're probably going to see an undercover reporter, you're probably going to hear the words that the person used, then that person is going to be outed. And the dominoes of people who then were part of the corruption, they start falling. So there'll be press conferences trying to minimize what we're about to hear and see, and some firings that come in conclusion to this.
You said James O'Keefe. Did you say he affiliates sort of with one side or the other?
He's a conservative guy for sure, but he goes after everybody.
Okay. I would say, regardless of who it is, whoever is releasing this, I would need to know, is not pushing an agenda.
No.
It's
No.
not like I'm for one side, so I'm trying to make the other side.
No,
look
he
bad.
picks a topic, and pharmaceuticals are a big one. Government officials are a big one. And he's not like laying down cover fire for one party or the other. It's an objective storytelling of what his investigative reporters found out. And really the only arguments are like, let's just say I sent you out, you set up a date with some person on the intelligence within the intelligence community. And so you're a high level person, so you do know stuff, and we're having a conversation. How much of what you say is trying to impress me as your date versus telling you truthful things? There's no way to tell. You can make up a bunch of stuff to make it dramatic, like I'm a spy and that kind of stuff.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, living in a military town for so long, I have seen firsthand the verbal vomit that will come out of soldiers' mouths to look impressive.
Again,
when it's
for
like,
a date,
I know
for sure.
I like, everybody does that, or everybody, like, I know what you're talking about, and you're trying to be impressive right now, and it's not. So yes, would a high power person be on a date?
So really the only thing you're going to garner is how people who are inside those communities talk, how they communicate. You can't really say because they said it's a truthful thing, but you can see how they're talking about it. Like one of the Pfizer guys, was talking about how there's a lot of their development and what they've exposed people to that was on purpose. And, it might not have been on purpose, but the way that he talked about it, there was such a flagrant disregard for ethics when it comes to, chemically doing stuff to other people. I'm being real careful of my words in this one. I'm doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I saw part of, recently I watched part of Joe Rogan and Julian Michaels' interview.
Yeah.
Did you see any of that?
I did.
And weren't they talking something about
be careful with your words.
Yes.
The thing
people took.
Yeah.
And saying it wasn't so much a V as it was a gene mutation. You know what I mean? Like, they were literally mutating your genes, which is why people are having issues now. It wasn't used as like a medicine type of capacity, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, and I can't delve into this because of the words that I would have to use to accurately articulate this. So we're going to stay away. I know. But
listen, people want to fight back against censorship. We have it. It's a thing. It's real.
Mm-hmm. Because we could totally talk about this right now. I don't want to. But anyway, long and short is this is like a D-Day. If you're, every Friday, I look at where things are coming, what was being promised, what's being presented, and it's been zero. So every Friday I say it's now been 90 days since we were promised this information to come out. And not only did it not come out, there's no description of what the heck is taking so long.
And so this guy is another example, like I think maybe Denise had mentioned, of somebody who was like, I do not ever want to unalive myself. And if I somehow find myself to be in that situation, it was not me. It is something else. But then what do we do with that? If we already know, and I think most people are at least curious about the idea that there are people that will end you if you say anything, what do we do with that? How do we trust anything?
Well, everyone that digs into this has that same conclusion. Elon Musk wouldn't have said that I'm in territory where I can't talk about half the stuff because I would just disappear.
Yeah.
So if that's your government and what they're willing to do to protect themselves, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody that's safe against that.
Which is, again, so ridiculous when we fight over certain, I call them characters in this like drama that is our government right now. It's like, holy crap. Don't fight each other over that. You don't even know the people, the situations they are in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's bigger than that. Dennis says, did you see the ABC footage he got where they talk about having everything on Epstein? I did not see that. Where ABC has something on Epstein? Is that what he meant?
I didn't see it. So Dennis, tell us a little bit more. Dead man switch, not kill switch. So,
Kill switch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unalive switch.
The unalive.
The unalive switch.
Edit that, BJ. Get rid of that word. maybe people are already gone, like Virginia would have spilled to him. So, and interestingly, like the one person that I already expected to have departed this place would be Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
Still in prison.
That's shocking.
Okay. So you need to protect that lady like she is a treasure of the state. And every day that ticks by is an opportunity to the information she has in her head. There's really nobody left to spill the beans on this if she goes away. You saw the lady got hit by a bus and then unalived herself.
Virginia is?
I believe so.
Okay,
so
yeah.
She had an accident where she got hit by a bus, and while she was recovering, she succumbed to, unaliving herself.
Yeah, even though she said, I am not.
You see, if they have the power to do this, then they will cover their tracks. We're giving them enough time so that we will never know. It'll always be speculation, and the public, like what happens if they just, pull the plug on everybody and all the evidence mysteriously disappeared, and there's really who's accountable to that? Zero people. So we'll be mad about it.
Who then is available and innocent enough to want to keep her alive?
Nobody.
Maxwell.
Nobody. Everybody who's at if the crosshair if the targeting gets too close, she will not be alive anymore. The only reason is because everybody feels kind of safe up at this point. But this could be the thing that breaks the whole thing wide open. We'll see.
It is going to be interesting to see up until this footage gets released, who is going to start publicly saying things about it? Who is going to start laying down the cover fire and saying, this is going to be nothing. This is going to be ridiculous. This is going to be. Now, again, whoever says that could be right, because we've gotten, our hopes up before that we were about to receive big information and we didn't.
Yes,
so I could see somebody saying that just to say, hey, I think this person's just trying to cry wolf for fame.
So here's a weird part about it, though.
Yeah.
I told you that they sent the video to other people.
Yeah.
Do you know who Alex Jones is?
I don't think so.
He is an infamous conspiracy theorist. Infamous, like the worst kind of conspiracy. He's been right about a lot of stuff, but he goes into territories, an incredible, level of information. He is one of the people that have a copy of this. So if I released a bombshell story that needed to carry all of the legitimate weight so it would be believable, I would not pick Alex Jones as the person that carried the other version of that. You would pick somebody legitimate, unless you didn't trust any of the legitimate sources and you thought that they would be complicit in covering it up. And the only guy that you trust is the crazy guy that nobody would touch with a 10-foot pole.
What if a legitimate source was too scared to get it?
That's right.
I mean, if I see myself as an unbiased, truthful, legitimate source of information, and somebody is like, look what I have here. This is so damaging. This is so earth-shattering. This is so, like, I'm afraid to even have this. I think I could be unalived. Here you go. I'm going to be like, oh, I don't want it. Don't put me in that situation. And again, with as much as, like, people want to know the truth and people want to know what happened, when it comes down to you personally, I don't know if we could trust a legitimate source to be like, I'm just not risking my life for that.
So in the comments, do you hope that it all comes unglued and all of those people fall and we pick up the pieces after we find out all of the the kinds of stuff that they've done?
God, it's just so scary. The NSA has everything, National Security Agency. And Dennis says NSA is no such agency. Julie, who's going to say fake news first?
Right.
That's what I mean.
100%.
Yeah. Like, who's going to come
depending
out and say,
on who.
This is going to be BS. It's nothing. And again, it may be nothing, or are they just trying to already put that in your head in case?
But I like the fact that this was slow played. Like, he could have just released it on that Friday. And so think, like, what would make him wait 6 days, 5 days to release the video? What I want to happen, right, is I want people to sweat and to react and make movements and make phone calls. Because if I have embedded people, I'm going to make you do something out of fear, so then I can get more data when you respond. So after that release, the people that thought, didn't get a sense for he was getting close to the real information weren't saying anything because nobody was challenging their safety spaces.
Yeah.
But you released that, and then they saw like, Bob, did you hear O'Keefe? Do you know, did you have anything? And now you've got people who are listening in on those response questions.
Yeah.
So there might be like a part 2 that might be better than part 1.
That'll kind of just be evidence for when they start denying.
Yes, exactly.
Envelope Bros say, anarchy, woohoo, let's go. Denise says, you aren't supposed to say who you gave the tapes to, so why expose Alex Jones as the recipient?
He didn't, James didn't say it. Alex actually said it. He said,
but he's also not a credible source.
Right. But he said he promised James he wouldn't say any details. There's actually 3 of these videos that are already done that he gave to James. One of them is what's happening today with those files. One of them something about pharmaceuticals, and he said one's not quite a bombshell, but it's explosive. And so we probably will get a couple in close succession. So what we do with them, how irate do we get from them, how many people fall because of them? I'm the cynic. I'm thinking nothing happens and they squash this like they do everything else.
That's my thing, is like, we've been hyped up before. But we were hyped up by probably the acting players in this. So I don't know. Could this be something?
I'm hopeful.
Jolie
Again,
says, I want everybody who is involved in Epstein outed.
Amen.
And what do we do? What do you want to see done if, let's say, everybody is outed, and it is everybody on both sides of the aisle? Who's in charge next?
Okay, so here's what you do. You have to find out first what departments aren't compromised, aren't laying down cover fire for the people who are listed, and how many people in that department are actually listed. So let's just say you look at the Justice Department, and the Justice Department really had some straight players. Well, then this is your task force to be able to then, because really what the public wants is they want justice for the victims of that by putting the people in prison that should have already been in prison. So you let that task force do everything to get those people out of the levers of government where they can't then off people or shut down the internet or try to protect themselves using where they need to be gone and in prison. And then the second ones, you're going to have primary players who were your big offenders and those ones that have to go to prison. Then you're going to have the secondary offenders. Those are the people that might not have done anything, but they protected Bob this whole time. Those are the secondary where we have to get them out of government completely. So the secondary list, I would say, is more important because the enablers were more dangerous than the people that broke those rules, as far as I'm concerned, because they corrupted government on behalf of somebody else for whatever. So, if I'm in those deals, I've either got to take James O'Keefe and I've got to compromise him. How much can I offer him, right? So that he doesn't keep outing this and let Sleeping Dog lie and not bring this to town. If he's uncorruptible, he's the Elliot Ness of the of journalists. Now we've got to threaten him. We've got to make him feel so scared that he'll never, ever, ever do this again. And if he didn't get the full way on this investigation, we got to stop him from going the full way.
Well, unfortunately, another thing that can be done, if it's not threatening him and finding him, how easy would it be to make a deep fake video and say, yeah, here's actually what happened, but he's only showing you part of it. And that video is fake. Or let's release another.
Well,
thing.
and that's
nobody knows what to believe.
That would be the 5th step. So number 1 is trying to stop him from doing it. The second one, what did I say the second one was? Fear. Scare him into not releasing it. The third one would just make him disappear. The fourth one would be to undermine his credibility and hit this with it's a fake and whatever. So undermining what the story is.
Yeah.
And then the fifth one would be, the nuclear bomb of all is total censorship of it. Pull the plug on the internet, make all of our utilities go out under the guise of something else to protect those people.
Man, I feel like they don't even need to do all of that. I think it would be so easy to confuse us by just throwing out other information. Making deep fakes would be very easy and quick. Sharing false information that looks like it's credible. So then now we don't know who to trust. I think manipulating the people
100%
would be easiest, fastest while they maybe work on all the other stuff.
They could do it. They've got
Yeah.
lots of tools in their tool belt.
Dude is the only guy on Earth that predicted 9/11, but gets called an unreliable source.
Well, here's the thing. Alex Jones, and I said he gets a lot of stuff right because what he does, he has a curiosity about information, and basically he will take it as far as he can take it. So if he gets sourced a story and he gets interested in it and he digs through it, he gives it just as much credibility because everybody already thinks he's a kook. So he can take everything and not think about that. If he undermines his own credibility, somehow people aren't going to pay attention. That ship has sailed already with him. So he gets peppered with stuff that isn't right. And it sort of like make people think like he said something's making the frogs gay, right?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So he turned into a meme. And so Alex Jones is the guy who thinks something made frogs gay instead of taking the other stuff that he got right and saying, okay, well, the gay thing was probably, bad optics for what you had to present. Weren't there better stories on your docket?
Yeah, I mean, that happens to everybody. That happens to Trump. That happens to RFK.
Right.
That happens to but like they say something that somebody can turn to make them look loony. And now
they don't have to try hard. The shit is loony.
And now
it really is
saying that thing was loony, but this is all.
Yeah. So the guy talking about the list was also talking about gay frogs. You make the connection. Should we be listening to that, dude? It's a real easy argument to make.
Oh yeah, and they do that all the time. Denise says military justice is the best way to handle it. No appeals in that system.
So long that the military justice system hasn't been compromised. That's going to be who is your arbiter of someone who's not involved and doesn't care enough about anybody to help save them from what's happening. Name that person to me.
I mean, they have to go through an appeals in a court system and they get their day in court and they get all these things everybody keeps saying you're supposed to have. How?
Mm-hmm.
How is that even possible?
Yeah, you don't want someone who's friendly to the people on the list. You got to find somebody who's neutral, but that person's going to be hard to find. And you don't want the person that's just gunning for certain people and will use this as just a way to injure one side and not the other. So it's not an easy spot.
All the time in high profile cases, jurors are threatened. How are you going to even have that done? I can't even imagine. Julie says, you're right, Kelin. The public is obviously easy to manipulate.
Yeah.
For sure. I could see this going nowhere simply because people don't know what to do with it. People don't know what to believe. If they released a bunch of deep fakes of other stuff, because I can't guarantee that the public is not gunning for certain people. If you're on the left, you really want people on the right to be on this list. Vice versa. If you're on the right, you really want people on the left to be on this list. Knowing that, how easy would it be for both sides to release information that all that does then is keep making us fight, and this just goes away?
Okay, and I have no insight into this, but guess what? They're both on the list. They're both.
Most likely, they're all on the list.
Yeah, because if it was just one side, it would already be out, because as soon as that side could throw that, knowing that none of your people are going to be damaged, but it's going to pick apart your House seats and Senate seats and executive branch.
There's no way it stays this secretive and this hidden if it's all one side. There's no way.
Yep.
That is scary. The good thing is we have Associate Director Dan Bongino at FBI.
So, and here's the thing. Like, I'd want to believe that this new crop of outsiders that weren't part of it, they were just military people, weren't part of it so they could be objective. But I also thought that about Pam Bondi. I thought that she was, that law person. So if this story comes out that Pam Bondi was then part and complicit in a cover-up, then I don't know. I don't trust anybody at this point. I gave her high probability that she was going to be above that fray. Yeah. So we'll see.
Okay, let's go the other way.
Yeah.
If something comes out and there are people that were suspected that are totally cleared, and it could be Pam Bondi, it can be anybody, that you're like, oh, wow, they really weren't involved in this at all. Does everyone else then start backing them and give them credit? Or do they continue to just say, I'm sure they did something else wrong, though. I'm sure they just haven't found it yet. I'm sure they just, or do you say, what more do you want? This person is cleared. Move on from it. I don't see that happening
In
much either.
utopia, that's the way it would go down.
Yeah.
But that person, well before that we have an actual answer, they will be crucified in every way that's possible.
Yeah, it is not innocent until proven guilty in
No.
our culture. You are guilty until proven innocent, and then you're probably still guilty, but just not of that crime.
Yep. And so you will see once we get a hint of how deep that this revelation gets, the cover fire. So if I'm in that spot, I know I'm about to go down. Right.
Yeah.
What I'm going to start doing is before you get to it, I'm going to start releasing those deep fakes just to kind of obfuscate what's about to happen. So you won't know which to believe. I'll release a video that says completely, and then maybe release some news on Pam Bondi, or maybe I'll just go to war with freaking Iran and distract. Like, these are all things are likely to occur.
I mean, if it's your word against mine, how easy would it be to release a video that looks damaging to someone else
and hit them first?
This is
Strike
O'Keefe's
first.
video.
Absolutely.
He could say all he wants. That's not mine. I didn't release that. Like, it's your word against mine. Oh, here's another video too, and that's it. No, it's not, but this one is. Well, how do we know? Because how do we know this one isn't? It looked like you released this one. I mean, with our technology, we could do so much. That's my biggest fear, is that if this is true information that could be so beneficial to putting terrible people in prison, is it even going to work out? Because we have so much ability to fight back. We, being the bad people, could say, oh, well, I'll just do this. I'll just do this. Nobody's going to believe you. So
hopeful, but I'm a cynic that even after the video, I don't think anything really happens. I think they were well prepared for this. They've got power and money.
Did he give a time? Like, this day, this time I'm releasing?
No, he just said on the 7th, and today is the 7th. And he does usually release videos around midday. So and while we're talking, let me look to see if there's anything to release.
What sources do we even look? Like, are you looking on X? Are you looking on
X is where his stuff shows up first.
I don't have an X account.
Well, I will give you everything you need. Let's see if anything got released yet. Nothing yet.
Although you could probably see that even if you just Google it. Probably don't have to be on X.
All right, so here's his presentation on Friday.
I'm going dark. I'm not suicidal. Pray for me. This one scares me, guys.
So he said, I'm not suicidal. Pray for me.
Yep. Very dramatic. Like, almost needed a little drum beat behind him to get your heart going and whatever. But that seems goodly, right?
I want so badly for this to be something.
Okay.
I guess it's just, now I'm like, ugh. Can I see a media person hyping themselves up for ratings? Absolutely.
Could totally be that. Could be. Don't expect it, but it could totally
could be. So mad if that's what this is. Here's the thing. Can we all agree? Can we all agree? If in fact we really don't get much, that it's another letdown, that O'Keefe is now a questionable source of information.
100%. Yeah.
That you now have become somebody that may not be a credible source of information.
If that's the case, they got to him and he was compromised and was forced into making his own brand a zero. How much would it take to offer James O'Keefe to stop doing what he's doing because it's hurting people with power?
Yeah, I mean, you see, there are a lot of like egos in the media world. And I think there are a lot of journalists that just enjoy being in the spotlight themselves. I hope he is not that. But if this turns out to look like that,
well, no, the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
All right, change the subject because we got through that without using any of the condemning words. So what else is on your brain?
Okay, let's see. We talked about the AI. We talked about art and Met Gala. We talked about Joe's possibly a robot in real life. Speaking of that, I saw a clip from another movie recently. I don't know what it was. It's something I've never heard of. But it showed a man talking to a robot that looks like a woman. And they were interacting and talking and stuff. And it was like, oh, turn on intimacy mode. And clearly, like, this is his, like, girlfriend robot,
Mhm.
the new age dolls.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's going to happen, and real relationships will never be as good as what can be simulated for you. So yeah, it's going to win.
Real relationships
Yeah.
will never be as good
Yeah,
as
almost
a
like the
fake
art,
relationship with a robot.
almost like the artwork. It can be so exacting,
You are a robot.
so efficient. I mean, think of all of the warts that you could avoid in having like people relationships and all of those weird congestive thought patterns. Like you
You
get rid of
mean
that.
interesting things?
No, I like we'll keep the interesting things. We can simulate interesting things with a robot. We'll get all the good stuff and we get rid of all of the bad stuff.
So if you could surround yourself with robots acting like humans, none of them are actually human, would you feel good about that versus being surrounded by actual humans?
Okay, so if you just surrounded yourselves by cars instead of horses, would you feel good about yourself? Cars are just better. They're more efficient, right?
They both have their time and place.
Horses are a pain in the ass. Have you ever had a horse? Horses are a pain in the
I've
ass.
never had one.
So you could take
I've seen
all of the
them.
downside of having something that doesn't
You
eat
don't
and
have
poop.
to own one.
Right. But if I had compared two things, a horse and a car, a real person and a robot, one is completely programmable and perfect, and one of them has all of those interesting warts, I'm taking the robot.
Listen, they have their horses and cars, okay? They have their appeals. If you want to actually get to where you're going encased in a vehicle with the power of the motor and the comfort of the ride and all of that, obviously you want a car. If you want a majestic animal that you want to pet and appreciate oh, we have a phone call. Our producer BJ says we have a phone call.
Well, let me finish this
Okay.
statement real quick.
Stay on the
So
line.
here's the thing. If you look out in the parking lot, if you see tie lines and troughs out there, you will see which one is popular and is winning. It is a better one. Doesn't mean you can't own a horse. So if I wanted to flirt with a relationship with a real person and then go back to my robot when I want exacting and perfection, like you can have both. Women aren't going to be replaced or men aren't going to be replaced.
So if your wife came to you and was like, hey, Joe, I realize we're in this relationship, and up until this point, I've really enjoyed my time with you, but here's a robot.
I would be sad that she would choose him over me.
Maybe
but
she's like, no, I just want both.
I wouldn't be
We can have our
surprised.
interaction, but I also have Mr. Robot here for other
A
things.
lot of women have Mr. Robots around this country, and
do you want a walking, talking, male-looking robot in your house?
Do I want one?
Yes.
No. But do I think it would be better? Yes. Objectively, if I'm a third party judging it, could the robot do things that I couldn't do?
It would be better in your household?
It would be better. It would be better. Measurably better.
Let's see. What does Luke have to say?
Luke, you're on.
Kelin,
Yes.
BJ, I am not committing suicide. I'm not going to commit suicide. Joe is a robot. Goodbye.
He would never unalive himself, and he's releasing that information.
Yes, but I'm not ashamed of being a walking robot. I'm not ashamed.
I don't think you are a robot. I think you want to be a robot. I don't
Trying
think
to
you
be
are.
a robot. Well,
So
if robots become the main race in replacing human beings, right? They're better. They're going to off us. They're just going to rule the world. Would you not want to become more robotic so you can assimilate into robot culture without being like, who are they going to off first? The problematic, warty human beings with all of that illogical behaviors, or the systematic robots that are more complementary to how they do things?
I wonder if men have a better time with this idea than women because of and I'm speaking in cliches, I'm speaking in generalities.
Okay.
Obviously, not every man and every woman is the same. Let's state that for everyone that wants to take what I'm saying and run in the opposite direction with it. I'm speaking in generalities. Men typically are known to sort of compartmentalize things, to sort of stifle emotions, to sort of be a little more logical thinking. So I could see a man saying, oh, robotic, why not?
Right.
Whereas women don't do that as much, or known to be a little more emotional. And so they could say, no, I don't want to stifle and compartmentalize. I want real emotional interaction. I want realness, authenticness. And so they could be like, I don't want a robot because I don't want that description. They want the authenticity and the realness of the emotion, of the unpredictable.
Just down to a basic level. If I had a hammer, I would be most focused on how the hammer gets the job done, how it looks, how it makes me feel, immaterial to getting the function. So everything that can have a utility needs to be robotic and systematic. And then you reserve the other stuff for things that matter, like artwork, for instance. So you have an artwork that was done by people and it makes you feel a certain way. Great. That's awesome. You would decorate your hammer because every time you pick up, you want to see
feel good. It's got to have a good grip.
Exactly.
It's got to be soft.
That's the difference. Whether we're talking
pink,
about
I like it.
we're talking about utility versus how you feel about something.
Right. Which is why I think men can go more
absolutely.
towards the idea of robots everywhere than women.
Because they have better utility.
But again, do you not feel any sort of emotional twinge if your wife were to say, this is my robot husband, I'll see you when I see you, I'm going to be spending probably a lot more time with this thing.
It would be more perfect than me, for sure.
Would you like it? Or would you say,
this isn't about like. Would it be? It's not like.
It's 100%
no,
about like.
No.
Like is important.
It's not.
It is.
No.
It is.
When you're talking about utility, it's about function. So if you have
if
you have two cars, okay, one of them goes fast and one of them goes through the mud, right?
Yeah.
When you take the one that goes through the mud on a snow day, do you think the other car feels bad that it wasn't chosen? Right? No, it was the utility of the maneuver. It's a car.
It's an object.
It's an inanimate object. Yes.
We're talking about human beings.
Yes.
Versus inanimate
right.
objects.
And we're taking human beings that have different priorities. There's some people who have a utility priority, and there's some people who have a feelings priority.
So is your utility priority so strong that you would not feel any kind of way if your wife came home?
I would be mad about it, but I would have
feel a certain way.
Yeah, but it wouldn't stop it from happening. If it was a better thing, I would feel bad that I don't get to take the Jeep today when this car was what. Yeah, it's better.
You wouldn't do anything to stop that. You wouldn't say, "Hey, can we talk about this? I'm really uncomfortable with
this." Hypothetical sucks because in real life, I probably would object to it
because you have human emotions.
Yes. But okay, let's start from the beginning. What if you're never paired with a human being where you had to sever the thing that you liked and it was just, you were single. You were single and then you were given a robot, so there isn't another person that you've already had a connection with.
Understand.
Okay. So that's why the hypothetical sucks. I'm saying in the future, when your first hammer is just a utility hammer and you never forge emotional connections to the hammer, then you are free to use emotional things on things that are non-hammer. We've just emotionalized relationships because it was more than just utility. We've already done that.
And you don't in any way see that as a bad thing to eventually remove emotion and the sort of human connection?
My feeling on it versed on what the trajectory is. Do we get hyper-focused on things that work or not working? When we have the comparison of something that's better, do we pick the thing that's worse? That was what this whole today's discussion was about. Which one are you going to pick? The one you like better or the one that works better?
Yeah, I still think sometimes to say something works better can still be subjective.
Exactly right. And so if your feeling is that, if you grow up wanting to have a robot so it could be the perfect thing and it's for you, cool, do the robot thing. If you don't like the robot thing and you want to go have a human interaction, cool. And when you compare the two, you're going to be okay, even with its downsides on a human relationship. And I'm going to be okay that I had the utility of something that functions well without having to have all those emotional things. And both of us are happy. It's not about making it homogenous where every, tool is perfect for every person. Just seek through things and find your happiness.
Can you imagine one day single people going on a date and you have to figure out, okay, well, is this human or AI? Swipe left or right, depending on what you want. Like, ooh, look at them. They're good looking. Oh, wait, they're AI. I'm only into humans. You know, or like, ooh, I can't tell. And then on the date, you have to figure out, are you human or AI? I'm human. Really? That's just what an AI world
Prove it.
would say.
I have an AI test.
Where's your cut
But
yourself and let me
honestly,
keep you bleed?
Honestly, when you get to that point, it won't matter.
That's
It
scary.
won't matter.
It won't matter.
If they've tricked you in every way that it's indistinguishable, it won't matter by on that point.
And people will just be like cutting to see if there's any blood.
Yeah.
That's like,
But you wouldn't want to know that.
horror
You
film.
wouldn't want to. Okay, so why we date now and why we date in the future might be two different things. Let's just rescape things and say there's a population decrease and the civilization is
Yeah.
it's crumbling. And so the priority of existence is just to have sex and make babies, right? Relationships are a back burner item. Civilization depends on you just being promiscuous as you can be and having lots and lots of babies. Relationships changes because of the utility of what was set in front of you, right? Things are just really good, so we're not having babies out of an order
You're
of
having
survival.
babies to simply reproduce.
Right. It's a convenience item. It's something you want to do rather than what you have to do. I mean, when you were wanting to have kids, okay? So prior to wanting to have kids, sex was an adventure and you did things a certain way. Once you start looking at the clock and the timing, then sex became
How
a
babies are
utility.
made and what you have to do in order to.
Right. So you felt yourself go from something that was a little impromptu to something that was managed and regulated, and it changed into a different thing. And you did it anyway because you understood the utility and the action was a different thing. What if we took the whole doing it for fun out of the equation? So we give licenses to have sex and we make sure that only people having sex are going to produce offspring that are going to, propagate society and the human race. Now it's a different thing. Now we just have relationships for different ends. And it could change that in a heartbeat. It has a lot of times over human
But
evolution.
then, so are you saying then you would have the AI to just have it when you want to have fun and a human when you want to actually reproduce?
Yeah, that would be the utility of it. But I think reproduction is going to be changed too. You won't have to have analog reproduction. All of that's going to change. You know, your swipe left, there's enough information out that if you were just starting out in the dating world right now, you're going to give the AI permission to match you with the perfect person that you're compatible with that makes a relationship a certain way. And then you'll have this vanilla homogeneous relationship that was absolutely perfect, picked for you by AI. Or if you're like, no, that perfect utopian relationship is going to be bad for me. I need some conflict. And what conflict would you pick? I need some frictions. I need something to push against. And then so when you're taking your menu items of what you want out of a relationship, I don't know what you're going to be on. I don't know if you're going to hand pick certain things. Like I really want to fight about the toilet seat. I really want to, socks to be left on the floor. I like those things. And
Yeah.
what, you're contemplating something.
There's just so much that feels like it would, if I came back many years into the future and everybody had AI robots as their mates or friends, I'd be like, what a shame.
Yeah, you'd be disappointed, but they
What a
would
shame.
not, because they just got better technology, more fulfilling in ways that were pretty good, and they probably still could sample outside that for the things they like.
And I think it's going to change humans. It's going to change our brains. I noticed something
100%.
recently about myself that really sort of concerned me. I would have something pulled up on a computer. It could be social media, Facebook, it could be YouTube, it could be whatever, something I'm watching and maybe engaging in. And for no reason, or maybe like I'll get a text message or something draws my attention to my phone and I pull up the same thing on my phone.
Yep.
And now the thing I was listening to and watching, I might have to even restart. Oh my God, I stopped paying attention because I got drawn into this. And then, oh wait, let me hear this. Oh God, I forgot what I was doing over here. And I'm like, what are we both going at the same time? And it was literally just automatic. Like I just did it. Like my brain just did it. My brain just looked at this. It just pulled this up for no reason. And I went, oh, that's alarming. That's alarming when you realize you don't have conscious thought over something.
Yeah, people say the alarming thing, but what does that even mean? It's happening. It's going to happen. It's going to get more prevalent. You're doing nothing to stop it. Are you just pointing it out for the sake of doing it?
Like I never in my life felt more like I had ADHD or maybe just ADD, where I went, oh my God, I couldn't even focus on this interview I was watching because I got sidetracked so many times.
Yep, you're being reprogrammed.
And I didn't even need to avert my attention. I didn't need to. I could have just been listening, but my brain went, but let me check something real quick. Why? I wasn't looking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird how you can be programmed and your brain could change in that way. So imagine if years into the future, we are literally interacting with robots and AI in our everyday lives all day long. What will change in our brains and what will be different?
Oh, it'll be a completely different thing. It'll be all the skills will be gone. Like almost you go to
emotional intelligence, I think will be gone.
But I think it will take a new form. I don't think that stuff goes away. I think we'll just invent a new thing to drill that energy into that'll just be different than how we do it today. It'll become a new norm, and you won't have anything to compare it against. It'll just become the new way of doing something.
I saw a clip of Jon Stewart on TV last night, and it was just a promo for a show. But he said, all social media is this thing that triggers the part of our brain that would normally be telling us to go outside. And I went, I want to put it down and go outside.
You're an addict.
I want to put it down and go outside, and I want everyone to feel that way.
Okay, so on a piece of paper, you can do that. Right now, you could do that. You could choose for an entire week to just go outside and put it down. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not again. Nobody's forcing you.
People would fight less.
Not people. I'm talking about you, Kelin.
I know, but
No, don't worry about them. Tonight, you could go home and put it in the meat grinder and just shred it up, right? And all you're going to do is go outside and do things that you already know how to do and find complete peace and happiness. You can do it.
You know what I've even noticed about myself? So like on Instagram, I think a lot of people do this. They send each other funny reels and funny videos. Well, there's a handful of people that every day, it could be like my good friends, my brother, my husband, like all day long, we're sending each other funny reels. And I know if I don't continuously check it, the notifications are just going to stack. And I'm like, I don't want to have to go to my phone and sit there and watch 80 reels. If I just keep looking, then it's ones and twos at a time. I don't have the patience to sit there and watch.
I told you that is the neural programming that you're getting right now.
I've even turned them off because they were too long.
Mm-hmm.
Someone sent me this video because they thought it was really interesting. And I watched my husband do it the other day too. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see where they're going with that.
All right. So here's something to consider.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to go primitive Stone Age and you want to teach your kids not to do these things, then what they'll do is they'll have a different experience growing up and not be good at what it takes to be good in society.
Yeah.
If you let them take the programming and let them just do it, they'll be connected into the system and be able to maneuver it well enough to be very productive in the future.
I know. I have this very strong urge to just like make my kids never look at a screen again and don't ever get on social media and put the phone down and go play because that was my childhood and that's what I want. But yeah, that will almost cripple them.
Yeah, put on the headgear, delve into it, really go in, let your brain really get good at processing controlled information from a simulation and master that world once it gets here.
I'm getting so old. All these new age things, I'm just like, well, back to my day, things were simpler.
You ever see that movie, the families, they were fighting against technology and they buy a plot of land in the middle of nowhere and it was called The Village. Ever see that?
M. Night Shyamalan? The Village?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like a monster living somewhere. Yeah.
And the monster was the controller that kept everybody in the village so they didn't try to escape because on the other side of it was modern world and modern technology, right? So it kept this whole group living like the Amish, right?
Yeah.
And from their perspective, that was their reality. And so you can very much see a segment of the population is like, I don't like this whole robotics thing. I don't like this technology. We're just going to go out into the desert or into middle America and build ourselves the village. And we're going to live like it's 1984.
We're going to live in peace and harmony before everybody fought on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll end it there. Thanks everybody for joining us. We will.
Yeah.
BJ was urging us here.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.